Hello, geometry students. This is Mr. Thier, and today I'm going to work with you on using the distributive property. This is from lesson 10.5 out of the algebra textbook. Okay, so lesson 10.5, using the distributive property. Today's goals, we're going to be factoring polynomials by using the distributive property, and we're going to also factor polynomials by a technique called grouping. Today's vocabulary, therefore, is factoring and factoring by grouping. Okay, so let's look at our first section here. Factoring by using distributive property. So you can use the distributive property to multiply a polynomial by a monomial. Hopefully you can identify what these terms are meaning. Polynomial would be our green one here. Poly meaning many, like a polygon is a many-sided shape, a square, a triangle. These are polygons. Polynomials are things that have many numbers. Therefore, our monomial would be this red one here, the 3y. So we're looking at a polynomial multiplied by a monomial. Here it's showing that 3y times 2y plus 5 equals 3y times 2y plus 3y times 5, which gives you 6y squared plus 15y. So let's take a moment here to describe why this is the case. So first of all, distributive. Distribute means to sort of pass out, to spread out between multiple things. So we're spreading out this 3y between the 2y and the 5. Okay, so I'm going to open up this a little bigger so I can show you guys some things. Okay, so if we have 3y times 2y plus 5, we have, in a sense, 3y times 2y and 3y times 5. Now, to get into how we can kind of feel confident about that, I'm going to use what I like to call an area model, where we are showing areas on like rectangular areas. So let's step aside from the original problem there for a moment and just go over some ideas. So if we have 3 times 5 in a rectangle, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes across. 3 times 5, 10, 15. Okay, so we have an area of 15 when we multiply 3 by 5. Now, if we have 3 times 3, that would be 3 times 3 is 9. A different way of writing that, though, is just 3 squared. So an area model, you're literally making a square, and that is what it means to square something. It's to have a square with a side length of 3. So that's 3 squared. Now, if instead of a real number, we have a variable, like y times y, well, it's going to be the same thing. It's just y squared. Okay, so this is kind of what I mean when I'm looking at an area model of things. So thinking about an area model for ours would look a bit like this. So they said that 3y times 2y plus 5 equaled 6y squared and 15y. Now, if that's not immediately clear why that would be, for example, y is 3y, 2y, 6y squared, we can break that picture down even further. So on the left, we had 3y. I'm going to write that as 3 y's by themselves. 1, 2, 3 y's. On the bottom, we had 2y plus 5. So 5 across right here and 2 y's. Now, I picked a length for y. I picked that y was going to equal 3 little boxes. It could have been 4 or 5 or 6. It's a variable. It's a thing that can change. But for this picture, it looks like it's about 3. So if we have 3y times 2y plus 5, well, in this bottom corner, y times y, we get a y squared. We also get a length of y times the length of y here, another y squared, another, and all together, these 3 y's times these 2 y's gave us 6 y squared boxes. Okay. We also have this 5 over here, so each of these rectangles are 5 across and y tall, so 5 times y is 5y. Okay, so we can say, let me say that one more time. So this length of, which you can see is 3, is what we're calling y. So we have y height, 5 across. So we have 5 heights of y there, 5y. We get that 3 times, which gives us our 15y. So these two pictures, this one and this one, are showing the same thing. This one's just kind of breaking it down a little bit more simply. Okay. Now, moving on. You can also use the distributive property to factor a polynomial. So factoring is, in a sense, just kind of going backwards. So if multiplying two factors gives us the product, if we start with the product, going backwards gives us the factors. So that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to start with 6y squared plus 15y and go backwards to those two factors. Factoring is the process of expressing a polynomial, this polynomial right here, as the product of monomials, 3y, 2y, and polynomials. Okay, so 3y times 2y plus 5 is the factored form of 6y squared plus 15y. When factoring a polynomial, it must be factored completely. If you are using the distributive property to factor, one factor will be the greatest common factor for all terms of the polynomial. So in our next example, we're going to look for greatest common factors.